Hey there guys, what's up? It's JP here and I'm finally back with another Hearthstone video. I do realize it's been a really long time since I made a video, but I just been really busy here and like I said before in the previous video, it's actually a lot of work to make a video. Um, so yeah, let me just quickly show you guys what I've been doing here. As you can, other than like making gold and stuff, I've been playing a bit of arena as well, trying to get the fix up there. I have no idea what this one is here. Um, oh, it's the Golden Knight Blade. Yeah. Okay, so basically what I've been doing over the past few weeks is just trying to get my characters all up to 60 here. So I'm not sure if that's really loud for you guys. But yeah, they're all about mid 30s. The druid's a little higher up, and the mage has already hit 60. As you can tell, I have not been leathering recently. I just went up to rank 10, get my card back, and then I'm done. Though I think it's rank 15, I might have overshot that a little bit. I was on a pretty nice win streak, so I ranked up pretty quickly here. In case you're wondering, I did use the mage deck to get up there, no, but not this one. I've been playing around the mage quite a bit on the ladder. Basically, I only play mage on the ladder. If you see, I have like 200 over wins. The rest is like one win, I think two here, so that's about it. So let me just show you the Druid deck, which is basically the Druid deck that I've been running recently. And it is a ramp style. So let me just quickly show it off here. It's no, I wouldn't say very different from most ramp druids. It's got a few differences, but not that big of a difference. The innovates basically just to accelerate your mana crystals. Turn 2 Yeti is a really nice move, that kind of thing. Turn 1 Yeti with the coin. Mark of the Wild is just to get some added value here, and it actually helps quite a bit against Zoo, especially if you Mark of Wild something like a Harvest Golem or Keeper of the Grove. Uh, the Wild Groves is once again just for ramping up. The Ras is for removal. BGH is in case of handlock. Strictly handlock. And once in a while you run into like a Rag or Alexstrasza. BGH helps a lot with that. But basically, if you're going against Zoo, it's a nice 3 drop. 3 drop. It's 4 damage, so it will kill pretty much anything in a Zoo deck, other than maybe things with Divine Shield or I don't know, something like a what's it called, Doomguard, right? Harvest Golem's another 3 drop here. It's really nice to coin Wild Growth into a 3 drop like this. So technically, it's like a turn 2 3 drop, and then it helps with your acceleration as well. The swipes removal. The Yeti is just a solid body. You could swap this out with the Senjin Shield Master if you feel that people are just rushing you too much and they're just ignoring the Yetis. I prefer the Yetis just because it's a little better against control. It helps you put on pressure a little better. Keeper of the Grove is a must against basically Warlock, regardless of whether it's Zoo or not. If you, let's say, turn to innovate out the Keeper, snipe like a knife juggler, it puts the tempo back in your favor, and it usually wins you the game. Nourish is uh really a very versatile card, if you ask me. Most of the time you use it to draw 3 cards, right? It's just draw 3 cards is really good. But once in a while, in case you don't get like the innovates or the wild growths early, you can use it to ramp up. 2 mana crystals is not too shabby, and it puts you technically, if you do it on a turn 5, it puts you like at a 8 crystal on the next turn. So really big one, and you can just when you play it, you can just maybe Wrath or hero power up. So it gives you a bit more flexibility here. Starfall is an interesting utility. It either kills a big minion or it wipes the board for you. Uh, it's just in there basically to counter Zoo, though once in a while another Ramp Druid, you'll play another Ramp Druid, he will innovate out an Ancient of Lore or something, and then you just smack it with the Starfall, and you're good to go. Azure Drake, this is something you could swap out with like another Yeti or the Big Game Hunter. I believe most of these decks actually don't run a few of these cards, or they have different mixes. I just prefer one here because I think 3 5 drops is excessive, especially well, technically there's like more than 3 here. It's 5 6 5 drops. Uh, but the extra +1 spell power and the draw card usually helps you get a lot of tempo, especially if you feel like rafts or swipes. Like dealing 2 damage and drawing a card is a pretty big deal. Like most people don't see it that way, but it really does make a difference. This swipe is extremely powerful. The Azure Drake, same for the Starfall. Though the swipe might be slightly better, just because it deals a huge amount of damage upright to a single creature, and then it spreads out smaller ones. So swiping something like a maybe Doom Guard or something, and then wiping the rest of the board out is really nice. Starfall's more just for like small minions. But the +1 spell damage to Starfall is really insane. I drew out of the Claw because it's just a really good card. You have 2 of these in every deck. As far as I can tell, it's kind of a utility thing as well. If you're playing against uh, Miracle Hunt, Miracle Rogue, it's a really solid taunt. And once in a while, they do get tricked into it because if you don't draw your wild growth and whatnot, and you innovate out draw the claw, they might actually think it's your standard druid and not ramp druid. So they might sap it, and then they can't sap things like the Sunwalker, which is way tougher to deal with than the Druid of the Claw. Though that's just my opinion. Some people value the 2 health better more over the Divine Shield and the -1 health, but I personally think the Sunwalkers are a little tougher, just because the Divine Shield can help you soak quite a bit. Like it could soak up 9 damage technically. It's an infinite amount of damage that it could soak up with the Divine Shield. So that's one way to look at it. Faceless Manipulator is in here just simply because it's just a really good card. You have so many big taunts in here. You Faceless of Sunwalker. They're running countless minions into it. If you think that's bad, you can turn 10. If you still have your Innovate, you can turn 10 Ancient of War, Innovate, Faceless Manipulator, and there's 2 5/10s. They're not running through it anytime soon, unless they, for some reason, have like 10 10s on the field. But that's a really unlikely scenario. The only minion that actually trades efficiently against 2 Ancient of Wars is the what do you call it? Deathwing, but you don't really see Deathwing as often as you would think. It's a really powerful card, especially if you hold it to the very last card in your deck. Like usually, if it's the last card you play, it's probably going to win you the game anyways. So that's something to take note of as well. So Ancient of War obviously back there, but we'll get to that a bit later here. Sylvanas in here is just a utility card. It's actually pretty cool because once in a while you do run into Ramp Druid. Druid seem to be making a bit of a resurgence recently. And in this deck, there's so many things you want to silence, and Sylvanas is not one of the things that is usually in the Ramped Druid, though I have seen it pop up quite a bit recently, but it's usually not in here. So if they silence something else, you got a really solid body here. It's a 5/5. You usually like run it into an Ancient of War in the mirror matchup, and then you just take the Ancient of War, then can Ancient of Lore it and heal it up to 10/10. So that's something else. The Black Knight again is more for the mirror matchup. Ramp Druid isn't actually really strong against any single deck except for the standard Druid decks like Token or what do you call it? Maybe just the mid-range style, or the somewhat aggressive style with the Archon Commanders in it. So that's what this is in here for. Even against Zoo, it's a 4/5 body. You somehow innovate it out or something. It's really tough to deal with because it soaks up the Soulfire. Is it Soulfire? Soulfire, yeah. And then it doesn't really trade that way. So even in Zoo, right, aggro decks, people do run the Defender of Argus just to buff up the minions, and this basically takes out any taunt minion, right, a single taunt minion. So the Black Knight's in here mainly for the mirror matchup, but it's pretty useful. Its ability is extremely powerful. The Ancient of Law is just a really good card in general because if you draw 2 cards out of it, it replaces itself twice. If you think about it that way, it's kind of expensive at 7, but I think the utility is pretty useful, and the restore 5 health is huge against Zoo. Especially since when it comes to Zoo, all you need to do is just stall enough to get your big taunts out. And sometimes, you know, you get this early, you innovate it out, you heal that 5 health, it buys you 2 turns, you drop your Ancient of War, and you're good to go from there. And this thing's going to soak up at least 5 damage if you try to kill it. If not, it's going to deal 5 damage to a bunch of mini creatures, minions. Really good. So, yeah, we almost hit the bottom here. Ancient of War, basically a must in every ramp deck. It's just so powerful as a minion that if they don't have an instant way to kill it, like a Hex or a Polymorph, it's going to soak up a lot of minions. Of course, you could argue Silence is the counter to this. But in this deck, if you silence the Ancient of Wars, you still got the Sunwalkers and the Sylvanas and the Rag and the Current. Current's a card I think I missed. But yeah, basically double Chill and Yeti for 1.5 of the price. Innovate it on turn 4. You innovate it on maybe turn 2. Like coin, innovate on turn 1 actually. And it's probably going to suck up quite a lot unless you get silenced. So that's one way to look at it. Yeah, so like I was saying, back to the Ancient of War here. The 5 damage is actually a really nice amount. It may suck a little bit against things like Priest, but other than Priest, Polymorphs or Hex, it's gonna soak up a lot of damage, especially against aggro. If you get it down, it's gonna take at least 2 or 3 minions with it. Most cases, it's gonna take at least 3 minions or 4. So Ancient of War, absolute must. You know, I've actually played around with the Ancient of War quite a bit, putting it in 10 attack with like a taunt next to it, and then it just deals 10 damage outright. You know, you trade a giant for a giant, basically like a molten giant or mountain giant. Even if they taunt it, give it a +1, you know, it still trades. So that's one way to look at it. And then we have Rag. Rag is usually replaced with Scenarios in this deck. Though personally, I've played so many games recently. Like I jumped from rank 40 something to 50 in a couple of days, and I personally find Rag to be a little more useful just because Scenarios, you would want to use the buff. You don't really want to use the where's Scenarios? He's been here somewhere. Like it has 2 abilities. One is to give all your other minions +2/+2, and then the other one is just to summon 2 Treants with taunt. The 2 Treants can be useful against things like aggro if you can get to that late stage, but other than that, I don't see any use for Scenarios. Like you want to use the +2/+2, and then in this deck, you know, you're not gonna have much minions to add to stay on the board because you just the whole point of this deck is to basically just keep trading. In my opinion, just keep trading because your minions are bigger and tougher. You trade better, so in that sense, the +2/+2 is much more valuable than the 2 Treants, and you're not gonna have many minions anyways. So I personally prefer the Rag because the Rag just kills stuff usually, unless it hits your opponent in the face, and if it doesn't kill him, you know, too bad, right? But if it hits a minion, it's probably gonna kill it. Like there are a few minions with over 8 health, and those are the big legendaries like Ysera and stuff. In fact, let's just take a quick look here at what doesn't die to Rag. Deathwing, Ysera, Malagos, and that's it. That is it. Everything else dies to Rag in a single hit. We could argue that the Divine Shield on Stone, but seriously, that's not really the big deal here. The point is Rag kills at least a minion every time it fires. If not, it's hitting him for 8. So it's like it's like the poor man's Pyroblast. Though technically 8 damage for 8 versus 10 damage for 10. I think I prefer the 8 just because it's a little more flexible and it's a little earlier. So yeah, that's why Rag's in here though. Make no mistake, Scenarios is usually what's in here, and Scenarios is by no means bad. Especially if you have a board and you +2/+2 everything. It's basically a Savage Roar. Just think about it that way. It gives you a lot of burst potential when trying to run him down. But other than that, I don't see any use here. And I just realized I have the Golden Iron Bark. That's really pretty. But yeah, this is basically the deck I've been running for the past few days. I've been playing mostly at night for an hour or so. Just aim to get 1 level up, and then that's it. I'm still pretty long way to go, I think. Yeah, I'm at level 54, so there's something to take note of. Having said that though, that'll be all for me for this video. I will be back with another deck spotlight. I'll be probably just doing this for now until I actually get this to level 60. So yeah, that'll be all for me for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're still watching, I thank you a lot for supporting me, even though I've been really inactive recently. So yeah, that'll be all for me, guys. This is JP signing out.